So the five remembrances are intended to be mindfulness bells, to remind and to wake us up to what it means to be born human and how precious it is to be alive, if only because it isn't forever. They remind us of our common humanity, that we humans belong to each other as a distinct family of beings, of species, a lineage on planet Earth, that we are inseparable from this big, beautiful natural world that we inhabit, feed, live off of, and share with other humans, animals, insects, plants, each with their own ever-evolving histories that stretch backwards and forwards in time beyond our capacity to fully comprehend. Being inseparable from nature means simply and profoundly that we are subject to the tides, to its cycles and rhythms of birth and death. That said, being human, we are gifted, as not all creatures are, with the ability to remember and to recollect and to recall just how fleeting and precious this life is, which naturally brings forth the opposite, appreciation for what is here. And so much is here and worthy of appreciation. We need only imagine how rugged life was for our grandparents and great-grandparents. We've benefited from their labors. Now, the Buddha advised these remembrances be recollected daily, so we never lose sight of who, what, or where we are, so that we can wisely relate and appreciate and be responsive to whatever is happening in the here now, in here and out there. They invite us to remember ourselves back into the fold of life, into widening circles of the natural world, that this modern world would rather we forget, where they'd prefer that we continue to buy lotions and potions and possessions until we drop. These remembrances remind us that we are always mid-step in the ever-evolving history. But each human advancement has removed us from the natural cycles of the world we live in, and so much in such a way that we modern folks have a hard time coming to terms with reality as it is, with the truth of how things are, that this body is subject to old age, sickness, and death, and that we will all be separated from all that is near and dear to us, and that whatever we do, for better or for worse, we are the owners of those choices and consequences. And truthfully, many of us would rather put our head in the sand until we have to look. But I'm a realist. I'm a cautiously optimistic one. I'd rather, with clear eyes, see what is happening and learn how to respond wisely and kindly. And yes, appreciate what is already here as the sand slips through my fingers. So how is it really? Well, Carl Sagan said, we humans are made of stardust. Now, I once thought that to be poetic license, but in 2017, a survey of 150,000 stars proved its accuracy. 6 of the most common and crucial elements on Earth and are the building blocks of life, including 90% of this flesh and blood, this body, is made of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur, and phosphorus. That's it, those 6. These same elements were also found to be abundant in the center of the Milky Way galaxy that we live in. Yep, we are all stardust. With each step into modernity, though, we seem to lose our connection to what and who we are and our relationship to the whole of this world. We don't know ourselves well as being a human. We don't think about it. We just go about our day. Nor do we consider our belonging to a species. And we don't think much about ourselves as part of the natural world. Typically, we know ourselves by accomplishments based on conventional standards. Now, because it is so easy to forget, these 5 remembrances invite us to deliberately remember ourselves back into the utter miracle that we are. An ever evolving sentient species with the capacity to think, feel, love, touch, create, interpret, remember, communicate. And they invite us to remember ourselves back into our place in the natural world. As we start to see more deeply how things are, it offers us really valuable information that's beneficial to our welfare and the welfare of everyone. As we remember and reconnect to our common humanity, this sense of belonging conditions the heart toward compassion, kindness, inclusion. These truths are not intended to be morbid or punishing. No. They're mindfulness bells waking us up to the fact that we are alive, and it won't always be so, but it is today. Well, in this way, they can wake us up to the deepest sense of appreciation and gratitude for what is here right now. So I'd like to read a poem by Joy Harjo. She's a poet from the Muskoka Nation, and it's entitled Remember. We have much to learn and relearn, remember from our Indigenous brothers and sisters that we've lost in mainstream white culture. We've lost our connection to the natural world, to ourselves, and to each other. We treat the natural world with an extraction mentality that's as opposed to being in an intimate relationship with it. We treat our own and others' bodies the same way, with the same mentality, trying to get what we can out of it without considering the reciprocal relationship. So this poem stitches us back together into the widening circles of connection to see the vast tapestry that we were born into. The title in each line begins with the word remember. This is also what mindfulness invites us to do. Remember. We are trying to remember something that is too important to forget. So I'll read the poem once, offering some interpretation with each stanza. And then I'll read it straight through without commentary during the meditation, so you can let it digest, let it sink in, all right? So if you will, just take a few breaths, settle back, and if it feels comfortable, close the eyes and receive the words, receive the sound of the words and the felt impression. And again, I'll give a few handholds after each stanza. And at the end, I'll gently ring a bell and we'll open our eyes, stretch it out, and then we'll begin again. Okay. Remember the sky that you were born under. Know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon. Know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. That is the strongest point of time. She's saying right here, remember ourselves into our relationship with our birth and the heavens that shone overhead when we were born. Remember us in relation to the stars and the sky. Before modern calendars, we understood time by the stars and we navigated life through the stars, marking important events using their coordinates in the sky. She goes on, remember sundown and the giving way to night. Such a simple line, and here she reminds us of the simple majesty of the ordinariness of a day. Not a clockwork day, but a day laid bare by the changing sky. How often do we miss our life by leaning out of the present moment and we miss the beauty that's right before us, that we're a part of? She's saying, be present and savor. She continues, remember your birth, how your mother struggled to give you form and breath. Here she says, we are hard-earned, created, carried, cared for, enough that got us right here now. And then Harjo says pointedly, you are evidence of her life and her mother's and hers. She's saying, we, this flesh, blood, and bones come from a lineage, a long line of descendants. And if you have children, well, add another layer, another ring to the tree of our lineage. We are intergenerational. We cannot escape this truth. We did not arise fully formed, walking, relatively competent adults. We had help, plenty of it, enough of it that got us here today. So we can remember and appreciate. We appreciate that we were a twinkle in our grandparents' eyes with the hope for continuation of their life and the wish for a better future for future generations. We are the future generation of our ancestors. Maybe we have a little of our grandma or Uncle Joe or our great-great-grandparent in us. Oh yes, we are the descendants of all that came before. And yet how easy it is to forget our history and our heritage in this individualistic, fast-paced world. She goes on, remember your father. He is your life also. She's saying, we come from yet another human lineage with similarities and differences. Remember and honor where we came from. Respect the living, respect the dead, for they live in and through us. Now she goes even wider. Remember the earth whose skin you are, red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Yeah, let's level the playing field and remember that we all bleed red. Surface is surface. Underneath, we humans all have common needs and wants and vulnerabilities. We all want to be safe and happy and well as possible, right up to the very end, I hope. And now Harjo goes again a little wider, widening the circle of inclusion to include the complexity and history of the world at large. Since many of us have lost our connection to the natural world, talking to plants and animals seems unheard of, even crazy. That is, unless it is with our pets, and then we kind of accept that as normal. She says, Remember the plants, trees, animal life, who all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them, listen to them. They are alive poems. We too, my friends, are alive poems. We too, alive poems that stretch across lifetimes, and each being in these different families have their own language. Now she opens up even further to the elements. Remember the wind. Remember her voice. She knows the origin of the universe. Oh, the wind, my folks, has been whipping around us since the beginning of time. We live smack in the middle of elements, the natural elements of earth, water, fire, air, space. And these elements will be here long after we're gone. She makes another turn. Remember, you are all people and all people are you. So Harjo moves on to discuss how interconnected all people are to one another and to all of the living beings around us, animals, plants, all with their families and histories, just like us. Just like us, they should be respected and listened to, honored, valued for their place and contribution in the world. We cannot escape our radical interconnectedness. And finally, in her final stanza, she opens it up wide. Remember, you are this universe, and this universe is you. Now remember, in 2017, that truth, that became a truth. What's in the middle of the galaxy is what 90% of this body is made up of. We, my friends, are indeed the universe. And then she says, remember, all is motion, is growing, is you. Remember, language comes from this motion. Remember, the dance, language is, that life is. Remember. Remembering us back into the fold of the universe. So I'll ring the bell, we'll open up, stretch it out, and once again, feel back. Use the animal body to feel back into something that feels comfortable, and we'll begin meditation. Just gently, ever so gently, like the animal that we are, open up this body. Notice the breath, notice the wind moving in you and through you. So if you will, settle yourself in. Gently close the eyes and feel inside as you breathe. And I'll one more time read the poem through, no commentary, just read the poem through. And then we'll sit in silence for the rest of the sitting, and I'll ring the bell at the end. Remember the sky you were born under. Know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon. Know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. That is its strongest point in time. Remember sundown and the giving way to night. Remember your birth, how your mother struggled to give you form and breath. You are the evidence of her life and her mother's and hers. Remember your father. He is your life too. Remember the earth, whose skin you are. Red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life, who all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them. Listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind. Remember her voice. She knows the origin of this universe. Remember you are all people, and all people are you. Remember you are this universe, and this universe is you. Remember all is in motion, is growing, is you. Remember language comes from this. Remember the dance. Language is. That life is. Remember. Thank you all so much. Hold on, let me stop the recording.